Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 17. January 9th, 1927. How the one who does the will of God possesses the balance of it, and possesses an act of light for everything. How a note of sorrow was placed, and this is why the divine will and the human will scowl at each other. How the first fruits are the things that are liked the most. I was making my round everywhere according to my usual way, to follow the divine will in all creation. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, how amazing is the operating of the soul in my will. Just as the Fiat maintains the balance in the whole creation by echoing my balance, she forms the balance in all creatures and lays within them the kingdom of my will. She is like light that descends from above, and fixing herself in everyone, lays within everyone the kingdom of the love of my will, of the adoration, of the glory, and of everything it possesses. But while descending like light to let nothing escape her, like light she ascends and brings the balance of all the acts of the creation, of all times, and of all hearts, to her Creator. With the balance of all the human acts, in which the soul has let the act of the divine will enter, on her part, she empties all the human acts, and lets the divine will flow as prime act. And the divine will lays its kingdom within them, because there is a soul who has taken to heart that there be no human act in which she does not want to fix her light, so that what is human may be knocked down, and the divine will alone may reappear in all things. This is why, my daughter, I almost make you touch everything with your own hand. I want you to extend yourself to everyone and in everything, to make you extend the kingdom of my will. This is what I want, that my will flow in everything, which is such that while it invests everything like light, it remains above all, and everything becomes my will. However, it may be that someone escapes from this light, just as someone escapes from the light of the sun. But this says nothing for the sun, because by possessing the balance of the light, it contains its act of light for everyone and for everything. So, while giving light to all, the sun maintains the balance of the glory of all the acts of light for its Creator. Therefore it remains in the perfect order, while those who escape the light go out of the order. In the same way, the soul, by possessing the unity of the light of the supreme Fiat, possesses all the acts of light of it. Therefore, she can give her act of light of divine will to the human acts, so that on her part she may extend its divine kingdom everywhere. If creatures escape, this says nothing. The light of my will diffuses anyway, and I see in my chosen one, that my kingdom follows its way. It extends. It is established. Therefore, I want to see your acts in my will over each thought of creatures, in each word, heartbeat, step, and work, in everything. For now, let us think about forming our kingdom. Once it is formed, we shall think about those who escape and those who remain in the net of the light of my will. After this, I felt so very exhausted, because I had had a fever for many days, and I had just barely written that little that is written above. So not feeling the strength to continue writing, I stopped, and I began to pray. And my sweet Jesus, coming out from within my interior, clasped me all to himself, and he compassionated me, saying to me, "My daughter is sick. My daughter is sick. You must know that on the part of creatures, a note of sorrow was placed in the kingdom of my will. A note that no one, for many centuries, has ever thought of healing. A note too sorrowful for the supreme Fiat, and the cause for which the divine will and the human will scowl at each other. Now, the firstborn daughter of my will must balance all parties before she comes to our fatherland. She must fill all the voids in order to establish my kingdom in the midst of creatures. Now, being sick, my daughter shall form the kingdom of divine pain within it, that, flowing like a wave of light and of heat, shall serve to sweeten this sorrowful note. Don't you know that light and heat have the power to convert the most bitter things into most sweet nectar? It is given to you, my daughter, who lives in our volition, to let your sorrows, your fever, your intimate pains of my privation, which make you die without dying, flow within our endless boundaries, in order to invest this note, so sorrowful, of the divine Fiat, and form in this note a most sweet and harmonious sound, in such a way that the two wills shall no longer scowl at each other, but shall be reconciled." Then he added, "My daughter, you cannot comprehend what I feel for you, the joys, the happiness I feel, because I find in you the first fruits of the kingdom of my will. I find the delights of the early fruits, the first fruits of the music that only the creature who lives in it can produce, because she takes all of our notes that are in our will, makes them her own, and forms her beautiful music in my kingdom. And I, oh, how I delight in listening to her! I find the first fruits of order, the first fruits of true love, that my will has conceded to her. I find the first fruits of beauty, that enraptures me so much that I cannot detach my gaze. So I find all of your acts as first acts, that no one before you has given to me. The first fruits are always the things that are liked the most, that attract, and that are enjoyed the most. And if other similar things come after the first fruits, it is by virtue of the prime act that other similar acts could be formed. So all the glory is of the prime act. Therefore, you shall always have the first fruits in the kingdom of the divine Fiat. There shall be nothing done in it that shall not start from your prime act. So all shall be turned toward you. To you, the beginning of the glory. Therefore, I want everything to begin from you in order to form my supreme kingdom. January 13th, 1927. Jesus prays her to write. How his word is happiness. How the one who lives in the divine will is looked upon as one from the celestial fatherland. She prays together with the whole creation. How Jesus promises her that everything shall be granted to her. Continuing with a fever, I could manage to write with such difficulty that I had decided to write no more until I would find myself in the condition of being able to do it with less difficulty. Also, to be able to write more extensively what blessed Jesus manifests to his little daughter. In fact, because of the difficulty, I try to condense as much as I can. Now, while I was not thinking at all that I would have to write, given my decision, my always lovable Jesus moved in my interior, and as though praying me, told me, "My daughter, write a little bit. I am content with little, rather than nothing. When you can, then you shall write more. And in the little you shall write, I shall help you. I shall not leave you alone. And when I see that you cannot go on, I myself shall say enough, because I love you very much, and also your nature, for it also is mine, and I do not want you to tire yourself out beyond your strengths. But do not take away from me this pleasure of maintaining the ever-new correspondence of writing what I want to tell you. You know that in the whole world there is not one point for me in which I can share my happinesses and receive return for them. So the point of my happiness in the world is you, and this happiness of mine is formed by my speaking. When I can speak with a creature, make myself understood, it is happiness for me, and full and superabundant happiness for the one who listens to me. More so, since in speaking with you, you being in my will, I speak to you within my will itself, not outside of it, and I am sure of being understood. More so, since in speaking to you about my volition, I feel in you the happiness of my kingdom, the echo of the happiness of the celestial fatherland. Do you know, my daughter, what would happen? Since I keep you in the supreme Fiat, I look upon you as one from my celestial fatherland. What would you say if someone who already lives in heaven did not want to receive my new joys that I naturally release from my womb to make all the blessed happy? In fact, it is my nature to give ever new beatitudes. This someone would be a hindrance to my happiness. She would close inside my womb the joys that I want to issue. So it would happen with you. You would be a hindrance to my happiness, to the ever new joys that my will possesses. More so, since I feel happier when I render the little daughter of my will happier, who finds herself in the low exile only because of us. For nothing else, to give us the field, in order to form our kingdom in the midst of creatures, and to restore for us the rights and the glory of the work of the whole creation. Do you think that my heart can tolerate not making my little daughter happy? No, no, it would be the greatest pain for me. Is my word perhaps not the greatest happiness for you? And I, certainly, O Jesus, and if you knew how you render me unhappy when you deprive me of it, how I feel the void of a happiness without end, that nothing else, as beautiful and as good as it might be, shall be able to make up for. And Jesus, therefore, my daughter, while my word makes you happy, I do not want my happiness to remain in the void of yourself alone, but I want it to serve to establish my kingdom. And therefore, as confirmation of my word and of my happiness that comes from me, I want it to be written on paper. Also, as confirmation of our correspondence. Then after this I began to pray, bringing all creation together with me before the Supreme Majesty, that is, the heavens, the stars, the sun, the sea, in sum, everything, so that my prayer might be animated by all the acts that the Supreme Fiat exercises in the whole creation. My sweet Jesus placed himself near me, leaning his head against mine, extending his arm around my neck, almost to sustain me. And I said to him, "My love Jesus, I am not the only one praying you, but together with me, there is your will operating in all creation, praying that your kingdom come. It itself wants its rights, all whole and complete, over everyone and everything. And only with the coming of the kingdom of the Supreme Fiat upon earth shall all of its rights be given back to it. Listen, O Jesus, how touching is the voice of your Fiat in the whole azure of the heavens. How eloquent it is in the sun. How attractive and strong it is in the sea. Everywhere can your Fiat be heard resounding, wanting the rights of its kingdom. Oh, please, listen to your own Fiat. Listen to your little daughter, who, making all of its acts her own, prays you, supplicates you, that your kingdom come. And even though I am just newly born, I too want my rights. And do you know, O Jesus, what they are? That I give back to your will all the glory and the honor, as if no one had offended it, as if all had fulfilled it, adored it, and loved it. If I am its daughter, I want that its rights be given back to it. And I want also that my first father Adam be given back the honor, as if he had never withdrawn from your will. And my most sweet Jesus, all moved, said to me, "To my little daughter who takes to heart so much the rights of my divine fiat, and who makes use of its very power in order to breach her way over my heart, everything shall be granted. How not to content you, my daughter? To you everything shall be given. Even more, we shall adjust together what regards my will, and what regards the creatures. Aren't you happy? Look, my daughter, from the moment my will went out into the field in creation, it has always been firm and unshakable in doing good, in spite of the many volubilities of creatures and the offenses. Triumphing of everything, it has followed its course of always, always doing good. See, in order to make the creature ascend again into the firmness, into the perennial good, into the unshakability of my will, I want to establish my kingdom in their midst. See then in what point I have placed you, in the firmness and unshakability of the fiat, so as to allow you to lay this kingdom of mine within it. And just as my will triumphs of everything with its firmness, so shall you triumph of everything with its firmness and in the unshakability of its acts. And you shall reorder the divine order between the two wills. The divine will shall be reintegrated in its glory, and the human will shall place itself again in the order established by God. After I wrote this, I was thinking to myself that what is written above was not necessary. More so since, continuing to be feverish, I write with difficulty, and I write just a little to make Jesus content. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, in order to live in my will, the soul must ascend, and in order to ascend in it, she must leave that which does not belong to my will. She must leave her miserable rags, her vulgar habits, her vile foods, her miseries. Everything she must leave to make use of royal garments, of divine habits, of precious and nourishing foods, of infinite riches. In sum, of everything that belongs to my will. What you have written serves you for now. It serves the kingdom of the supreme fiat. Then it shall be the rule for those who must live in it, how they must make use of all the operating acts of my will, in order to maintain themselves within the boundaries of my kingdom. Therefore, that which to you does not seem to be necessary is necessary for the formation of my supreme kingdom. January 16th, 1927. How, in the kingdom of the Fiat, all things are complete, up to the shades of all colors. The one who lives in it takes everything as though in one blow. I continue to plunge myself into the supreme volition, and my sweet Jesus made himself seen, leaning his head upon mine. And since I was suffering, I said to him, "My love, see, I am in your lovable will, and since I want to come to heaven with you, it is your very will, not I, that asks you to take me with you. Therefore make your own will content, that being everywhere, praise you everywhere, in the heavens, in the sun, in the sea, that you no longer keep its little daughter in the exile, far away from you, but that after so many hardships and privations of you, you let her land in your celestial fatherland. Oh, please have compassion on me, and on your will that praise you." And Jesus, all compassionating me, told me, "Poor daughter, you are right. I know how much your exile costs you, and to persuade me, you make me be prayed by my own will. More powerful device you could not find. But know, daughter, that the Supreme Fiat wants something else from you. It wants that, on your part, all the beauties, all the varieties of multicolored colors, all of their shades, be formed in its kingdom. The beauties are there. The colors, in all their varieties, are there in order, but all the shades are missing. And I want nothing to be missing on your part, for the decorum and the beauty of my kingdom. If you knew how one more shade stands out more, how embellishing it is. And do you know how these shades can be formed? One additional saying of mine can be one more shade in the varieties of colors. One little round of yours in my will. One little pain of yours. One offering. One prayer in the Fiat are as many other shades which you shall add, and which my volition shall delight in administering to you. In it, things are all complete, nor would it tolerate that its first daughter would not take all of its complete acts, as much as it is possible for creature, in order to form its divine kingdom. After this I continued my flight in the supreme volition, and my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, "My daughter, the one who lives in the divine will takes everything together, as though in one blow. In fact, since my will is everywhere, there is nothing that can escape it. Its life is eternal. Its immensity knows no limits, nor circumferences. Therefore the soul who lives in it takes the eternal God, all the heavens, the sun, everything that exists, the Virgin, the angels, the saints, in sum, everything. And as she prays, palpitates, breathes, loves, her act becomes common to all. So all palpitate from her heartbeat, all breathe with her breath, all love with her love. Because wherever my will extends, it moves all to do the act of the one who lives in it. From this, it happens that since the sovereign queen has the first place in the divine fiat, she feels the little daughter who lives in it close to herself, and associating herself with her, she repeats what she does together with her, and places her seas of grace, of light, of love, in common, because one is the will of the mamma and of the little daughter. Even more, the height of the sovereign of heaven feels honored in her with acts of a divine will. She feels that this little daughter enters into her seas, and stirring them with her acts, she makes them swell, to double them and expand them. But to do what? To let her Creator receive doubled divine glory and love from her very seas of love, and to place the seas of her celestial mamma as though in a bank, so that she may receive doubled glory. Therefore, though little, this creature moves everything. She imposes herself on everything. All let her do. All feel the power of the good that she wants to give to all. So she is little and strong. She is little, and she is present everywhere. She is little, and her prerogative is littleness. Therefore she possesses nothing, not even her will, because voluntarily she has given it to he who had right over it. And the divine will gives her everything. There is nothing that it does not entrust to her. Therefore, the prodigies of the living in my will are indescribable and innumerable. Oh, if all knew what it means to live in my will, and the good they receive. Even more, there is no good that they do not take, there is no good that they cannot do. They would all compete, and yearn to live in my holy and adorable volition. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 20, Part 17. Fiat.